The Edgeless Horseman here. It's April 14, 2022. I'm just gonna go over the miners a bit and look at some updated charts for a few companies and give my 2 cents about some stocks that I've covered on this YouTube channel over the last few months since I decided to start up again with doing these videos. First of all, we have GDXJ here. Um, Interestingly, it appears that this consolidation, basically a double bottom here, and an obvious resistance zone, we seem to have broken out of that. This is the, I think it's a, daily short, yeah. This looked like it was a bull pennant, and sure enough it broke above, and obviously broke above these previous highs here. And you can see that as soon as it got up here over this level, smash down, 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 and then it appears that bulls finally won. And one interesting thing I think is that if you look at the accumulation distribution indicator here, I mean, I don't use it too often. I actually don't know really how useful it is. I mean, it's supposed to obviously show distribution is, if people are unloading more shares, let's say, then there are people accumulating. Actually, let's say, I guess it's a way of like strong versus weak hands if a move is for real and all that. And what is interesting here is you can see from the bottom here to the top, the accumulation chart just went up this much. I mean, didn't say much really, just to a previous high. But if you look from this bottom, sure it was a bit lower down, but interestingly the accumulation chart started off higher, and you can see that there was a much bigger move, and now it's basically flatlined. So I take that as a bullish sign that this was sold into, let's say. Let's say big players, they knew this rally wasn't for real, or they were gonna slam it or whatever, so they were selling into this rally and then it tipped over. But this time around, actually, you see quite an increase in the accumulation relative to distribution. Obviously, I think that's a pretty good sign, and depending on how one draws these lines, etc., I think it's looking quite bullish. I mean, like I will show in the next slide, and I've shown this. Well, not this one actually, but this is in terms of, since I'm mostly in juniors, and I assume that most of you listening to this are in juniors. I like to put up this chart, just showing how egregious the gap is between, especially the riskiest, let's say, micro cap juniors and high beta specs. The optionality plays like Bear Creek Mining and any deposit really that has a, let's say, a large lower grade type deposit that's probably requires hundreds of millions of dollars in capex, and won't, it's not a tier 2 or tier 3 deposit typically. And obviously at the end of the risk curve, the micro cappers, pre-discovery plays, early discovery plays, and stuff like that, which typically is the last subsector of the mining sector to move. So obviously majors, which they tend to do, they have moved first, and boy have they moved. Newmont, which I've shown previously, broke out to a new all-time high, past the level that had not been seen since 1987, and I call this welcome to the era of miners. And I'm sticking to my guns. I think the mining sector, I mean, that's where I do all the investing and speculating, at least. I think commodities overall are the only no-brainer left, and in terms of a specific commodity, I do think gold has the best risk reward. Well, maybe silver, but in my opinion, the gold juniors are cheaper than the silver juniors on average. So this is a huge gap, and never seen anything like it really. Of course, this is just one stock, but I think it's kind of telling because I see a lot of micro-cap juniors. I've been picking up some micro-cap juniors lately. I mean, many of them are down like 70% from their highs, 2-year highs, etc., with no real good reason, if you ask me. And typically they are the ones that move last, and at the end of the next sentiment upturn, they will tend to outperform even the majors. So I'm not, I'm bullish on miners overall, and Newmont breaking out to a new all-time high is certainly a good sign. So I'm not against holding, larger miners, etc. But whereas Newmont might be, who knows, close to fair value, maybe 20% undervalued, and maybe again it will go up if gold breaks out of this, long cup and handle. But the catch up in the juniors would be, significantly better in terms of returns, because they would need, I think a lot of juniors need to be up some 200% on average just to be to be at a level that's already priced in by Newmont and where gold is trading. So I think juniors like no-brainer subsector for me, and if it takes 6 months, a year, 2 years before I get my, let's say 200-300%, so be it. I'll continue to pick companies I think have a good shot at outperforming anyway. So I'm just gonna rehash or look, what happened, let's say, for some companies and charts that I've mentioned. Eloro, obviously, one that I've been pounding the table on for quite some time. Did this video not too long ago, and I was, buying all this this whole downtrending action pretty much, and it's up some 45% since that video. I think it peaked at around 62%. In my opinion, it's like, okay, this I obviously expected it to go higher. I think we're gonna break out of this box, and I think no guarantees like usual. I simply think that, like every previous time, this box led to a 70% rally. This box led to at breakout, if you count from the actual, let's say bottom here, it's to top 350%. But if you count from the breakout, 187%, which is outstanding, obviously. So I expect, not guaranteeing, but when this breaks to the upside, which I don't see any reason why it shouldn't, given what we know about the Porco anomaly. I just expect Eloro to keep pumping out very long intervals of decent to good to great grades. Not every hole will hit, not every hole will be a monster hit, but that's not to be expected anyway. But I expect to see months, perhaps even years of a lot more monster holes coming from Eloro, and when this box breaks, which is both let's say longer and a bit actually even higher in terms of volatility, so I think, my sense is that this break will actually be bigger than the last two, simply again because the bigger the base, the higher in space. And I hope to be holding Eloro for quite some time, and hopefully I'll have a multi-bagger from these levels. And again, even though it's up 45% since that last video, I think I added this week, not sure. I don't have a lot of dry powder, but any case I really like that's going down, I typically add, and Eloro to me is one of the best risk rewards I know of. Also covered Cartier Iron. I called it the market brain dead at 7.5 cents per share. You can see my reasoning here basically, and since I'm bullish on Eloro, I bought Cartier Iron as well. It's up some 60%. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of tied to Eloro, obviously. I think easily over 50% of Cartier's value is actually in Eloro shares. So again, this rhymes with the big box consolidation in Eloro, if you ask me. That when we break the box, I expect Cartier to break out of this, and hopefully head quite a bit higher, and the 60% return will turn into something a lot more. Defiance Silver, also thought it was brain dead back here, and it appeared that it was creating some kind of bull flag. And they have been drilling, and they actually just today announced that they've hit some bonanza silver grades at the Lucita target, I think, which is part of their quite large San Acacio project, and based on the sum of its parts, we saw insider buying. Blue sky has blue sky potential, marginal safety via Tepal, and they have a small resource at San Acacio. Diversification factors, and I expect them to simply keep on growing. And here you can see more what I think is a bull flag. So it's up some 62% or so from that video. I expect, I mean, to me this looks kind of like a breakout, and the RSI indicator, it's a bit chaotic, but to me this looks good. I mean, silver is doing well, gold is doing well, copper is doing incredibly well. So it's like, do I think Defiance is cheap? Sure do. Do I think it will continue to grow? Sure do. So I'm sticking to my guns here. I still have all my Defiance shares, and again, what I just keep on saying all the time. If you think a store is cheap, etc., it's like, and the trend is up, the value growth trend is up, and you know that we're at a sentiment low. I mean, you buy low, you buy low. I mean, the juniors haven't even started yet, and a stock like this is up 62% from the cheapest level it's been in, I don't know, one and a half year. It's like there's not much in terms of rocket science needed, actually. Goliath, one of my absolute favorites, even though it has revalued quite a bit. I think it's one of the most unique exploration stories out there. I have described this at length in a previous video. I will not repeat that. You'll have to go back and look at it. I remember buying more here. I think I bought some around this level. I simply thought like, okay, and I remember tweeting about it, this is just way too low for this. I mean, it had no business going down. Performing very well lately, up some 76% from my first additional purchase, up 125%. Certainly a great return, and if I had to guess, I expect it to go something like this. It's 14th of April, so let's say 1.5 months or so to drill start, perhaps. Okay, maybe actually, yes, I still expect something like this. Maybe not exact time scale. When is, let's say, maybe around here, actually. So I expect, I mean, it has momentum, and I don't know when it's actually gonna break. This to me looks like one sweet RSI trend line on the 4-hour chart. No guarantees. I just simply think RSI is what actually, that's the, let's say, tool that seems to be working best for me. Not that I use it to trade that much, but actually, predicting when a stock I already like is actually gonna start gaining momentum, etc. So and I don't have a chart here. We also have if you do a log scale, we basically have broken out of a long, I think a multi-year down sloping resistance zone recently, so we are clear in that respect. Obviously, I expect some profit taking, perhaps when we hit this 52 week high. But then, as soon as drill announcement starts, I think I think there are quite a few people that are maybe or aware, maybe thanks to me, and especially thanks to Quinton, obviously, just how impactful this coming drill campaign will be. So then I expect, unless sentiment gets super bad, I expect this to be one of those stories where you could actually have a pretty good drill hype rally, because this is one of few where you could actually do a quantum leap immediately just from the coming drill campaign, and given that they have 100% hit rate pretty much so far, it's obviously not the riskiest bet if you're into that to make. It appears not to be a nuggety system at all. How I will play this, I don't know. It's grown to my second largest position, and depending a bit of what happens. I mean, if it goes up here before assays, well, maybe even more. Yeah, I don't know what I would say fair value is, but I don't think 150 million is actually a stretch given what we know about the system, personally, and the quality of, potential quality in metallurgy, etc. But again, I can't make any promises. I mean, if it becomes way too big of a position, maybe I'll scale out something. But if there's nothing, even cheaper to buy, maybe I'll stick to everything. But I do expect before assay results, this will not be up 130 from the bottom or whatever, more than that. Played out very well so far. Irving did a video on that as well. I thought it was no-brainer sheep down here. It's not the most exciting story right now, simply because they have one friggin' drill rig, if I'm not mistaken. But in terms of pure exploration potential, absolutely one of the best portfolios in the entire world, if you ask me. Up 45% or so. Still down, needs to go up 70% to reach the level Newmont added in last financing. Again, patience with this one. In terms of exploration potential, almost unrivaled. Needs preferably to have some more drill rigs, because it's like sucking through the Hoover Dam with a straw. This one, like I stated in the last video I did on Irving, one of the hardest ones to actually predict, because things can change so quickly. And again, it's basically the bottleneck is that I think they still have one drill rig, but in terms of potential, etc., I wouldn't call it overvalued. They have the largest company as a backer, a lot of insider ownership, absolute empire in terms of portfolio size in Japan. Grande Portage, also recently spoke about this one. Had a very interesting chart. Unfortunately, they released the last holes, and there was one mention. I think I did a video on this as well. There was one intercept which showed quartz waning over 40 meters or so. Sounded really interesting, which could be, if they hit something massive, let's say, could be a true game changer. And given how spring loaded this short was, that would probably, I mean, if it if they came out with a monster hole here, I mean, that would have taken rocketed to the moon, I think. Unfortunately, it wasn't that great. They through their whole campaign, they had some high grade hits, some bonanza hits, etc. Nothing. I wouldn't call the campaign a barn burner, but they still have 1 to 2 million ounces of high grade gold, plenty of exploration potential left, multiple veins that I have yet to test. So is the story over or anything like that? Far from it, I would say. But we are in kind of a boring period, let's say. So this one might be one that actually, depending on when they actually start drilling, etc. But can I see it get cheaper? Yes. Do I think it's overvalued? No. Do I think it has a bright future? Yes. Down 23% since that video. Obviously Novo Resources, which has been a hot topic today. This was the second day in a row with very heavy volume. Massive volume. In my opinion, it appears to be capitulation selling. I mean, the news release today was that Rob Humphreyson is leaving the company, and my understanding that's like, he's been overworked, etc. And obviously, nobody is missing the fact that Novo has had a lot of problems with Beedens Creek. That's for sure. I mean, if you look in the forums, there's barely a single shareholder actually posting. It's just random trolls and bashers basically. So that kind of says something. It's pretty funny to see actually. And this is one of the cleanest downtrends I've ever seen. Almost looks mechanical. And since I'm a value investor, I don't give two shits about what Mr. Market is saying. I think Mr. Market is beyond stupid, and if especially at a bear market bottom in terms of sentiment in juniors, if you're bearish almost any junior stock, that's probably down. I mean, there are exceptions. Well, there are plenty of exceptions, as you've seen, but I don't read too much into that. That's like, in my opinion, like I could put out a sell rec on. I could be bearish the whole entire sector over the last 2 years, and I would have looked right in 98% of cases. So, are you a genius for that? I don't think so. I mean, I think this valuation is quite ridiculous, and that's why I bought some today, I think. Yeah, I bought some yesterday at least. Because again, I'm looking at market cap, price, what I'm paying for everything. And to me, this is certainly not expensive. Are there any guarantees? Absolutely not. But like always, I mean, if we've gone from like this period where like you need blue sky to have good returns or great returns from that point to like nowadays it's like, well, if anything goes right, really, this looks very cheap to me. So in my opinion, the odds, etc., the risk reward is in my opinion increasing. I think we traded 2 million shares today, and it appears that it actually made some kind of hammer candle, which is pretty much a bottoming candle. And if you include the like super heavy volume, that's kind of interesting because there were 2 million shares sold and 2 million shares bought, and it ended near the high. So that means that there were more, let's say, motivated buyers than sellers. And I was among one of them. And obviously, I mean, this in terms of share price action hasn't gone anywhere close to what I hoped and expected. But like, funny thing is, like, typically, I mean, you almost only hear about stocks that are not performing. And it's like, I don't know what I expect my hit rate to be, but I can suffer a lot of Novo Resources right now because there's so many other plays that have gone well. And to me, when Novo became cheaper, I mean, after the news release today, for example, was that a bad news release? What did that do to intrinsic value? I don't know. but it's like 10% down, heavy volume because Rob is leaving the company. I mean, a lot of bashers said he was the problem. So okay, should it have gone up instead? I don't think Rob was the problem. By the way, I really like Rob. I think he's a great guy. I think it's like, I mean, Novo has had so many issues, but in my opinion, nothing in terms of exponential exploration potential is gone. But now Novo has cashed in their winning ticket basically with Newfound Gold, or will be cashing in, I expect. So then you have 226 million market cap. I assume they'll end up, as per the news release, debt free and 97 million in cash, around $2 million in equities. I think it's a bit more, but let's stick to that. So that's close to 100 million for everything that Novo owns, including a mill. That's not expensive in my book. That's pretty darn good risk reward, and I think any exploration potential at this point could actually move the needle. Whereas back here, you would pretty much need for the conglomerates to be, which type, drillable, fine gold, etc. So yeah, I'm not throwing in the towel on. I'm not throwing in the towel on Novo. I'm certainly not all in though, because there are obviously risks. But the risk reward, in my opinion, has been increasing. So I've been ramping up my buying lately. I bought some today. Newfound Gold, which appear to have been stuck for quite some time. They just pumped out discoveries and bonanza holes and high grade, and now we know, of course, that there's probably tied to the fact that Novo was going to sell the shares to Eric Sprott. So do I think there was some, let's say, shenanigans involved? Yeah, just my gut feeling. And like I discussed in this video, I mean, you could buy all the success over this period for the same price you paid here, excluding dilution, obviously. But my conclusion was that this opportunity is just getting better and better for every time it goes down to this level, because they've been drilling more here than they've drilled up here, and more than they drilled up here, etc. So in it appears that both on the daily, and this is the weekly chart, this looks like a pretty clean, convincing breakout, unless something disastrous happens last 2 days of this week. And last time we had a similar consolidation, it led to almost 300% run. So it's up only 24% since this, but in my opinion this looks like this is the first week of a long uptrend. Snowline Gold, which I described as being one of the most, let's say, explosive growth stories, top 3 in terms of blue sky potential at the time. Done very well, up 103%, topped out at 122. They've had some news out from the Rogue project. So basically blue sky potential has increased. So yeah, I don't think you need to hear what I think is in store for the share price of Snowline in the coming months. Timberline appear to be, in my opinion, I mean, it was too cheap. They had been drilling, and then we had IP anomalies, and then not long after this they found out the RC drilling issue, etc. So I was buying more shares around here, up almost 60% since then. And what does the future hold? They are raising $8 million US right now, and I expect them to do a lot of follow-up drilling to the water well zone, which produced 44.2 meters at 4.10 grams per ton, which is obviously a monster hole, and that was from the northern part of water well, and they hit almost kind of similar monster hole in the southern part. So you can just imagine how many infill holes they can do that could come out with results like this. So what are my expectations? Like I stated then, I expect them to drill, hopefully prove out a massive Carlin system over the coming months and years, and then it would automatically obviously break this, and that would target a 120% move from this blue line wherever it actually breaks out. So yeah, holding my Timberline quite firmly. White Rock Minerals recently put out a news release. This one kind of like Novo, actually, like based on the sum of its parts, super cheap, but too messy of a story. I mean, it's too much for anyone to keep in their head, and let's say it has been quite of a messy story. But like now, I think it's beyond dirt cheap. They actually, I had missed this news release, but they actually picked up additional prospects in Alaska. And it's like I haven't dug into it too much, but it's like obviously some very interesting holes here. And if it's, who knows what this might be, but what's priced in, I actually, okay, maybe price went up 5% or 5% today, but it's like basically the market yawned. But now they have a very respectable portfolio in Alaska, and again, based on the sum of its parts, given their zinc, their VMS base metal with high-grade silver. I mean, it's just retardo cheap. Don't know when the market is gonna care. Certainly, if they spun out some things into a Canadian vehicle, I think that would be could be a multi-bagger in a hurry. But yeah, same issue as with Novo. Story is almost too big, and typically the Mr. Market in the junior sector can only focus on one thing at one particular time, and that's why the Lundins, as soon as they have more than one good project in a company, they spin it out, and that has worked pretty much every time. So it's like, enough said. Market is brain dead, and it can't focus on a lot of things. And again, like with Novo, I mean, do you think their exploration portfolio is reflected in this price here? Okay, maybe you do, but then I sure can't see it. And I mean, if you worship Mr. Market, I mean, the reason why I think this sector is so easy is because it's so brain dead. And the same case with Novo, in my opinion. And that doesn't mean guarantees, it's just that brain dead risk reward. But a lot of people like cheer on when the market agrees with them, especially during sentiment bottoms, etc. It's like, okay, you're as smart as the market. Yeah, and in terms of chart, no idea. I mean, I don't see anything really clear, and they've done so many races, etc. So it's kind of a scrambled eggs over here. Will there be a bottom sometime? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just don't see it getting much cheaper. I don't know if they've actually closed the latest financing, but if they have, I mean, a considerable amount of this should be cash. So I just can't. It's mind-boggling how cheap this one is, really. But it's kind of a bit lack of focus. They have Red Mountain, they have Morningstar, they have Last Chance, and now they have even more assets, and they have Mount Clarington. So I don't think the market really knows what to focus on and what it's pricing in. And if you have like 4 or 5 kind of projects, I wouldn't say flagship projects, but any investor is going to focus in on one thing. Maybe someone is focusing in on Red Mountain. Someone is focusing in on Morningstar. So it's basically priced like they have one asset, something like that, whereas they have like 4 or 5 assets. So it's a true, it's a fascinating case of just how narrow-minded, let's say, the market is, and that's something we have to live with. I mean, otherwise, I don't think either White Rock or Novo would be at this valuation. Yeah. So anyway, these were a few. I mean, I own shares of all these companies, so I obviously expect them to. My base case expectations for each one of them is to, in the case where they're already doing well, I expect them to do even better, and the ones that are, have seen a downtrend, there's typically reasons, like Irving has had COVID issues and one drill rig, but the value is still there. Grande Portage, a bit of a boring period, but I think this is going to break one day. Novo, a lot of stuff has happened. I just think it's too cheap, so I like the risk reward, and been adding some. Simple as that. Newfound Gold, expected to keep making higher highs and higher lows. Snowline, I expected to continue to do well going into drill season. Timberline, same thing here. We're waiting for Oswego results. Should be. Well, I don't know what to expect from Oswego, but it's like when they get to drilling water well zone again. Yes, I do think trend will continue. And White Rock, I like case of Novo. I don't see it other than being incredibly cheap and giving incredible risk reward. So right now, for both cases, if anything goes right, you can make a lot of money. If things go bad, you'll lose money. Simple as that. Consider me biased. I think almost every company is a banner sponsor. I'm not sure, not Snowline, not Irving, but they're not Cartier. But yeah, just for simplicity's sake, always assume I'm sponsored by every company I talk about. And you can just figure out if what I say makes sense to you. And yeah, I hope you made some money on some of these stories, and hopefully keep making some money, and hopefully Novo and White Rock, for example, will turn around and join the others. Thanks for listening. Bye.